everybody to this special meeting, and I apologize for bringing people out, but this was a 3-day or 4-day thing that we had to do, and I didn't want to bring it up at the board meeting Friday not from my committee, so, because a lot of supervisors don't like things coming off of the floor at the board meeting. So, what it is, and I'm going to let Kristen Hannaford do most of the talking. She has an opportunity to get a nice size event here. She's got some slides, and we saw a lot of this stuff already. I'll let her take over now.
Thank you. Thank you everybody for coming today. I appreciate it. Appreciate you taking the time out of the schedules. So what I have in front of us here, as I've mentioned in the past couple of meetings, I've been in discussions with EVP volleyball tours over the last couple of months and hosted them recently in June for a site visit. I also met with them at Connect, which is a marketplace, a couple of weeks ago, and they're very, very interested, and they want us to lock in to some June dates for next year and the next subsequent 2 years, so 2017 to 2019. So the purpose of this meeting today is for me to explain to you the opportunity and for you to understand the benefits of this event that it can have on the Lake George area over the next 3 years. It's also for you to review and hopefully approve moving forward us to put down a deposit of $10,000 to bring this event here to get them up to contract by October 1st. EVP's Tours and Sports Endeavors has been around for about 22 years. They currently operate tournaments in 12 different states in over 50 cities over the last 2 decades. They were founded by Ross Balling in 1994 and have been highly successful in creating very exciting volleyball events for professional and amateur athletes alike. Their players have included former Olympic gold Rio medalists, volleyball stars Kerry Walsh and Brooke Sweat and Lloyd Ball and Riley Salmon. So for those of you that do happen to follow volleyball at all, those are pretty big names, gold medalists that actually do come on their tours when they bring these to these various locations. They have a proven record of attracting a young target audience, and they're very attracted to corporate brands such as Evian and Crown Imports as well. They've had a great success record also in marketing to their partners at grassroots levels. So right here is the proposed schedule that you can see up on the boards here for what they're looking to do for next year. They're still looking to fill a few holes, but as you can see, they're looking to bring their event to Lake George, the Lake George Pro-Am, on June 23rd and 24th of next year. There we go. Their client list is extensive over the years and have included prime beach areas such as Panama City Beach, Palm Coast, Florida, Tybee Island, Savannah, Georgia, Hampton, Virginia, as well as some unique beaches such as Two Rivers and Racine, Wisconsin, and our neighbor to the north, Plattsburgh. So with these tours, they bring professional and amateur athletes alike from around the U.S., reach out to local clubs, they create a fun and family-friendly festival-like event, and they tie into local communities through clinic opportunities, meet the athlete events, corporate challenge events as well, and what it becomes is a true partnership with the various communities that they are in and the actual event organizers. As the host sponsor, the Lake George area would have a significant opportunity to maximize its visibility across the country as the tour continues to move. The sponsor would get brand positioning on the EVP official truck that you see there. They would have 2 courtside banners which would travel with the tour, and which should be for all 3 years, and a 10x10 tent which also would go to all of the various events at the different destinations. In addition, there's also promotional events, promotional elements to this. We would have access to social media and digital promotional components such as the splash page on EVP's Facebook page. They could link to our own social media, including Facebook, Twitter, and Pinterest. And we'd also have a web banner, which would be on their own website, and we could have links from our various tourism promotional agents, including ourselves, the tourism folks here in Warren County, and other partners to be able to promote this as well. What's interesting too here is that there's really a unique opportunity to brand ourselves nationally. EVP has built a unique partnership and has created what's called Beach Sports Network, which is aired to over 20 regional sport affiliates and distributed to over 100 hours of quality TV programming. The events are filmed in HD. They showcase a day on the beach event for pro athletes. They highlight the host city and the various attractions in and around the area. And through the athletes' eyes, the TV audience can find out about the tour sponsors, their experiences in the area, and kind of follow them through their overall experience and their day as they go through the best of the beach. So following this actually is a couple of short clips just to give you an idea of what this event really feels like. And so the first one will be from Bradenton, which is in Wisconsin.
Top volleyball players in the country have traveled to Anna Maria Island today to be part of our first stop on the 2016
Oh, actually, it's Florida, sorry.
Now, it looks like some of our athletes are starting to warm up and get into their play. So what do you say we go grab a chair, maybe put some sunscreen on, and get some more action?
This is the kind of promotional opportunity that we in the Lake George area would get access to. Okay, and the second one, which is probably a little more similar to us, is Two Rivers, Wisconsin, which is a lake community. Not a name that you normally hear for beach volleyball.
Rivers, Wisconsin for the Coast Coast Pro-Am Tournament. I'm ready to navigate you through, stay on the lake shore this time, maybe meet some new faces, and even get a few games in myself. Wish me luck.
Sorry. So as you can see, these kinds of things are great promotional opportunities for our area. They bring in a tremendous amount of people. And in terms of TV distribution, you can see here that the distribution is strong, distributed through channels such as Time Warner Cable, Comcast, Sportsnet, and Mediacom, just to name a few. And again, you have regional as well as national reach. So in order to lock in this event, we're gathered here today to talk about the approval of the deposit of $10,000 to lock in the sponsorship to be the host sponsor. The total is actually $20,000 each year, but as you can see, the deliverables are solid. They include a 3-year term, the rights to the EVP marks, 2 30-second commercials on national television, 2 opening billboards on the TV show, 2 closing billboards on the TV show, the sponsor logo on the T-shirts and jerseys, and all the additional branding promotional opportunities that were in the very beginning. So the truck and the banners that would travel nationwide as well. So what we're looking to do is try and go to contract by October 1st. That is our deadline for us to be included in this tour, and then to make sure that we can provide them with the support going forward over the next 3 years. So it will be 2017, 2018, and 2019 is when they would like to come to Million Dollar Beach here in Lake George. As the host, we have also a few additional deliverables that we would work with them to provide, such as volunteers, beach permitting, hotel rooms. I have a couple of hotels I've already briefly spoken to who are interested in being the host hotels for this event. Permit for sound, some tents and signage. So we would work in conjunction with EVP to help them coordinate with the village and with DEC moving forward. So why sponsor this? It's a brand new event. It has a broad and youthful family appeal and can bring a really new and exciting sporting event to the area. It gives us an opportunity to be new again, to give something exciting. It can deliver more heads and beds and create more occupancy tax money, and bring some new dollars into our area. It can give our area national visibility at a low cost. For those of us that are in the business and we buy advertising on a fairly regular basis or have in the past, buying national advertising is expensive, and for a $20,000 investment is actually not a lot of money to be able to get that kind of exposure on a nationwide level. So not only will that help our local area, but it will also help increase our brand awareness of the Lake George area and region across the board. And it has a proven success rate with our neighbors up in the north in Plattsburgh. I took the liberty of actually making a phone call on Friday to the CVB up in Plattsburgh and spoke with her, and she actually stated the following. She said that this is their third year, going to their third year next year as the host sponsor of this event. She said, in her words, it is a very cool event, very organized. The EVP staff is great to work with. They work very well with the community, and they actually left their beach cleaner than when they arrived. They're very conscious of that in terms of environmental impact. And she also said it was a great boon for the businesses in the area. She couldn't give me exact figures at the time, but she said that it did increase their overall hotel rooms and visitations to the attractions because it is such a family-friendly event and does have that festival feel as well, that they were very happy with the overall success of the event for them, and they would continue to do it moving forward. So anyways, that is the brief synopsis of this event overall as a whole. Happy to take questions with regard to this.
Either one.
It says here you have 24 professional teams and 60 amateur teams, so you're talking about bringing in 80 plus teams for this 2-day event?
We're looking at, that is our overall average. The number of athletes can range. There's usually teams of 2s and 4s that come in. So we're looking at an average probably of around, not just the teams themselves coming, but there's also going to be the support, for some of these amateur teams, there's parents that come with them because they're younger players, they're youth players that will come and play. So it does have an expanded opportunity.
Ron?
Have you looked into Million Dollar Beach's availability?
Yes. Yep, we've already been down there with their site selector. Craig and I went down there back in June. We already spoke to the folks at DEC. They said it's not a problem. They would be happy to work with them with regard to the permitting and those issues. So, and actually they were looking to actually put courts on both, if you look directly northbound to the lake, courts on the left side and to the right side, but leave the public access portion of it open. So you would have no issue with regard to public access. They would keep that beach open. And it would be an open to the public event.
Okay, thank you. I have a few questions.
Sure.
That was one of the things, Ron. I want to know if $1 million and how much access.
Yep.
So it sounds like to me there's going to be a lot of rooms needed. I mean, with the support, and you said some of the parents come for the amateurs and so forth. So what are we talking about? 100 rooms here? 100? I mean,
It says 12 hotel room nights.
12? Where do you see that, John?
Those are the ones I think we would have to pay for the host staff, right?
That's host staff is 12 for the host staff. The potential here, if we're looking at anywhere from 150 to 300 athletes that come And then you add in addition to that, the families, the support staff in between. I mean, we're looking at, 300, possibly 400, if not more, rooms or more.
Wow.
So, I mean, the impact overall as a whole could be significant.
What do they charge to watch this?
Nothing,
Nothing.
nothing.
Okay, all right,
It is
so.
an open to the public
I
event.
like that number. And does it have to be a 3-year commitment?
You know what, that's something that we can go back and negotiate with them. It could be a 1 year with a 1 year renewable potentially. I can certainly talk to them.
Now, thank you, and you mentioned that Plattsburgh's already had it, so obviously they have a track record. And you said, I think this is their 3rd year on that?
This is going into their 3rd year.
Third
yes.
year. Do you know if they're going to re-up and do another one?
They are next year, yes.
They are.
They're
So-
re-upping
So
again.
they're willing to do another 3-year contract, whatever.
They signed on for 3 years. They have been very successful, and they're very happy with EVP tours. I mean, this is not. I mean, we've been having conversations with them. Michael initially met them at Connect New England in June. Craig came, their site visit person, later in June. I met with him. We went around to the various facilities. He looked at $1 Million Beach. We met with DEC. I met with his commissioner, Ross Balling, who is the head of the company, as well as Lizzie and Craig. So we sat down at Connect, actually, and talked further about this and got into more detail about this whole contract and this opportunity.
Dennis, you know offhand when they start charging for access to the park?
$1 Million Beach? They don't charge you for access, they charge you to park.
Right. Oh, I see. So if you come by vehicle, you're charged for the parking.
If you walk over, during first,
So, and do you know when that goes into place? Is it before June, the end of June?
oh, yeah.
So I just say that you're aware of that.
Right. Yep. And if parking is, we can certainly talk about the issue of parking. I mean, we will potentially have to look at overflow parking as well. I mean, if this becomes a successful event, we'll need to find other areas that we can also direct people to parking. I mean, it could be charged, for a fee as in other places as well. I mean, with various other events, there's charge for parking. I mean, it could be a money generator for the area as well.
We have, several areas for parking. Depends on what's going on at the same time.
Right.
We also have, the town has a 14-passenger bus, and we have a 28-passenger trolley, if you need to move people around.
I mean, I think overall as a whole, in looking at this event as a new event being considered for the area, the opportunity to create something new and exciting and different that hasn't been done in the past is something that's also very newsworthy. Part of my background is also marketing and public relations. How do we get our face out there? How do we get our name out there? How do we get our brand out there to really have people know what this area has to offer and all of the different great things that, that we can tout. And so therefore, an event such as this really can bring some new life and breathe some new excitement to people who would have, maybe never thought of it. And volleyball, Lake George, really? Like, you think volleyball, beach volleyball, you think Florida or California. But when these guys came up, they were absolutely blown away at how absolutely gorgeous our beach was, and the fact that you had a beautiful vista of a 32-mile lake and mountains on the side. They said, wow, we've never seen anything like this. This is going to be great. It's going to be great on camera, and it's going to be great for drawing crowds. So.
Anybody else?
Just,
Kyle, go ahead.
I'd like to hear the recommendation of staff on this.
So we Tanya Brand sat with Peter and I, and we looked over Kristen's proposal. And Tanya has worked in the meeting and convention market before, so she's well aware that events like this come with a sponsorship requirement. So that is the norm if you want to attract these types of events to our area. And is that the objective of our occupancy tax, to draw new events to the area? And I think that also to put us on the national stage, Kristen's predecessor had mentioned a number of times that it was difficult. She would go to shows year in and year out. You establish relationships with these people to try to bring these national level sporting events here, but until you get an event that's here and it's successful on that national stage, it's difficult to take that first step. So maybe that's where we are at this point in time, is take that first step, you have a successful event, and that gives you the credibility when you're back out at these shows again, to say, hey, we can, as the Lake George area, host you on a, you know, national level.
Three things we really want to look at, and this thing is a no-brainer on all three. And the first is that the national exposure, you know, when she talked about the price of an ad, median of the price of an ad in the local Post Star is outrageously expensive. So to parlay $20,000 a year into that kind of national exposure, that's a check mark across the board. It's brilliant. You're tapping into their brand, and you're leveraging that for your own area. Great, and I can attest to that. It's definitely beneficial to do. The second is you have an event here that could potentially be very successful. We've had beach volleyball here before. I was in a team, and it was successful. It was fun. People loved it, and they talked about it. So you have proof of concept. It can happen here, and it has happened here, and it can be even bigger. Third thing is that this has the potential to, like Joanne was saying, pull in next tier events. So they see this big shot here that was successful. They can ride those coattails in here for another one. So across 3 stages, this thing is a very solid performing asset. And certainly there's risks with everything you do. This is an educated guess, and it's about as solid as you can get when it comes to an educated guess.
So those are yeses.
Absolutely.
Mr. Stroud, is there a question?
If I can just say one other thing too, when I was at the Connect Marketplace show 2 weeks ago in Texas, you know, and I had met again with the EVP folks, probably an hour and a half later, as I was going through the various marketplace meeting, having the appointments and the meetings, I sat down with another group, a youth beach volleyball group of all things, that actually is based out of New Jersey. And she had seen me talking with the EVP folks and said, well, are they going? And I said, well, I think they're going to come, probably. Well, let me know, because if they come to you, then we're coming to you. And I went, great. So I have her proposal, I have her RFP. We're going to be talking in the next couple of weeks, and she wants to come up and see the beach. And we'll get her up here in the next month or two, or less, actually.
Better now than January.
We'll get her in the nice weather, when it's still sunny and warm.
Mike, I think you had your hand up?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Oh, Mr. Stroud, go ahead.
Mr. Stroud, I'm sorry, I passed you by again. So, the host deliverables, $10,000, and then the list. Is that an annual obligation?
It's actually a total
Every
of
year?
20 every year. So the 10,000 deposit we need to put down by October 1st for them to set their schedule, because they're already planning ahead into their 2017 schedule. So for their marketing to start launching off, which they're going to be doing it probably shortly after we would sign, they need that commitment so that they can be guaranteed that we are locked in as their host.
So it's 10, 5, and 5?
It would be 10 in October and then 10 June of 2017. And so that's the cycle that it would be.
20,000.
So 20,000 total,
Times 3 years.
times 3 years.
So 60,000.
60,000 over 3 years, correct.
Plus, who's got to supply the hotel rooms?
That, they are on their own to go into the only hotel rooms that we are responsible for are the 12 for their staff, that's it. And that can be worked out through the hotel, as a host hotel, as another sponsor. Those are negotiable points, and those are not something
So
that.
they may not cost us anything.
They wouldn't cost us anything, no.
And what does it mean, marketing sponsorship options to local businesses?
There's other opportunities for sponsorship. There's a whole other page, which I didn't include in this just because I wanted to sort of keep things a little bit separate. But if you're a local business and you want some exposure at this event, there are sponsorship levels in addition to that you can buy into it to have your brand out there on a national level or on a local level. If you are, you know, Adirondack Brewery and you want to buy a $2,000 sponsorship for, let's say, having a banner on the side courts, you will have that ability to do that. Or if you're the new Courtyard Marriott, the same thing.
So we don't have to, I mean, so these aren't obligations? I'm on the host deliverables page. It says marketing sponsorship options to local businesses. We're not obligated to do that? I mean, if it comes around and you guys do that, that's fine, but.
We're providing the opportunity for the businesses to. I'll-
think that's where he's going. It's
We're
we'll
not
provide
obligated,
them that
so
way.
that's really not
The whole
something that is a
Right.
deliverable.
What the hell is it?
I'm just saying,
Yeah, no,
I'll-
I'm trying to figure back out what it was. It's not-
and the one on the bottom, it says sponsorship rights may be offered to host city. I mean, so that's our obligation?
Can I get I'll have to get further
Yeah,
I'm happy to
yeah,
give you further
yeah,
clarification,
yeah.
I will have to go back to EVP.
I'm just wondering what we're getting obligated to.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I will be happy to clarify that with EVP specifically.
So I see we're getting obligated to $60,000. I mean, it sounds like a great event, but it's pricey. But
Ron?
Yeah, just wanna make sure I understand the concept here. EVP Tour is developing an itinerary around the country for professional volleyball.
Amateur and professional volleyball, correct.
Well, the amateur is part of the pro-am. You're saying the amateur is not just local amateur, the amateur could be amateurs nationwide.
It could be nationwide, correct.
To-
And they go on, they go on
It's like they're developing a circuit, if you will.
Correct, this is a circuit.
This is a circuit, and so, now, does beach volleyball have like a professional, like the NFL, like a professional league, if you will?
I got it.
And is this like an event that's sanctioned by, if they have a professional league, is this something that's, or does the professional league have their own itinerary, their own, event
They're-
calendar for the year?
The professionals that go on this tour are at Olympic level. I mean, we're looking at former gold medalist Olympians from Rio who have been on this tour, who will continue to keep going on this tour. So I would imagine it is sanctioned. I can find out for sure, and I'm not gonna say
I don't know that they
definitely
have
is,
their
but
own
I would-
league. I'm just
assuming that
asking the
at this point
question. I'm
it is-
totally.
It is something that is, I mean, they've been running this for 22 years, and they have athletes, professional and amateur, that have been attending this event year after year after year.
EVP has been doing this for
Correct.
22 years.
Gene?
I'm kinda interested in this
Rachel?
deliverables thing. Why don't you walk down through this and tell us who's doing what here?
Where are you, what page
No page.
Oh, the host deliverables?
Deliverables.
Okay.
All right, on the deliverable side, all right, so we'll go back to the slide here. All right, so on the deliverable side, the bid fee is per agreement, which we just discussed.
That's the 20,000.
Correct.
Per year.
Staff permits, for parking, volunteers to help set up and tear down, permits for the volleyball courts.
Wait.
Yes,
Staff parking, you're talking about the $1 million beach, so you're dealing with the DEC.
correct. Yes.
So, you had that conversation with them?
We've
about-
had preliminary conversations with DEC. Their person on staff will work directly with DEC. They've had, like I said, preliminary conversations. We haven't taken this too far, only because we wanted to have the conversation first to find out if this is a viable event for the area. So, we're taking baby steps going forward to say, we're doing this, and then we're doing this, and in order to get them locked in, and to have them to come and say, we're definitely coming, I mean, we will certainly take these conversations to the next level, you know, as we move forward.
Okay.
But
That's pretty
DEC
straightforward.
is aware,
$108.
right, but DEC is aware, of their interest. We've had, you know, I had Craig meet with them, very briefly, just to sort of get some preliminary information. But he will be the person coordinating those permits and working with them directly.
Cause they have a volleyball event
Mhm.
there every year.
Yes, I know they do, right, for
About
charity.
6 or 8 courts, so.
Right, and we're looking actually probably more than 1 to 4 courts. We're probably looking at about 6 to 8.
Okay.
So,
Rachel, yeah?
Yes, I have a couple quick questions. One, I know you said amateurs, but will that also include, we have a large beach volleyball and volleyball
Mhm.
following in Warren County. It always amazes me how many, people are playing, both adults and younger students. So is that something they'll be able to participate in or just watch?
Yes.
So it would be open to?
It's open, yep, that's why it's
Okay.
amateur and professional.
Okay.
They invite the community, they're also looking to do a corporate challenge, so if there are companies in the area and businesses that wanna be part of the corporate challenge, they really wanna work with the community.
Can Warren County Board of Supervisors have a team?
Sure, if you want to.
Any takers?
Are you playing?
Oh, yeah.
I'll play.
Absolutely.
That's fine.
But your shoes are great, so if you have shoes
I
like
can't
that,
wear
I'm not
shoes to play
playing with
volleyball,
you, 'cause
sorry,
those
no.
are awesome. Okay, have we ever done anything like this before?
Not at this level, but like
Okay.
it was mentioned earlier, there is currently a beach volleyball tournament, or that does happen for charity.
And would the money for this come out, I'm sorry, two more questions.
Yep.
Money of this, for this come out of the OPEX reserve,
The discretionary fund, yes.
the discretionary fund? And, is there anything else scheduled that weekend? I know I came in a few minutes late, so you probably already talked about that. I know our
We
business.
haven't, discussed it yet, but there is potential that overlapping, I think by one day, might be the Food and Wine Festival, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
They may overlap by one day.
What 2 days are your event, though?
23rd, 24th,
But is
versus
that
24th, 25th,
So it's Friday, Saturday?
correct.
Although that might work out really well for the wine festival.
Yeah, both ways.
Yeah, actually, I talked to Sasha this morning, and she thought that it would be a good opportunity.
Yeah.
I mean,
Kind of cross.
I think just, recognizing some of the numbers Joanne shared with me in the past about advertising and bringing something of this level to our community, having that national exposure, but to involve our community in that way, I think as long as it's a reasonable buy-in fee for these groups,
Mhm.
you know, I think it's great. I think
And the
it's a
other nice
win-win.
thing too is that there's opportunities for, if you have a group, a youth group that wants to come in, they'll run a clinic and show them,
Oh, that's great.
different things on technique. They're willing to have a meet the athletes opportunity. So if you have some of these professionals or, former Olympians and they wanna, some of these great, young volleyball players wanna get, their ball signed or they wanna get some tips, these are other opportunities. And like I mentioned before, there's also the side of PR, and that's something we really haven't talked a lot about, but that's a huge component, to be able to dovetail this into a news story that puts our region and our area on the map on, News Channel 13 and Fox News, and then all of a sudden it's getting picked up on the national level through, the Beach Volleyball Network, and then maybe and so it snowballs, and next thing you know, Lake George really is becoming this name out there that people recognize as not just a great vacation destination, but it's a volleyball opportunity, it's a place to come for meetings, it's a place for a corporate retreat, and it all snowballs. And it starts something small, and then you get this domino effect. And I'm a firm believer in the domino effect, that you start with one, and it affects, heads and beds, affect the hotels, that affect the restaurants and the businesses, and the more people we can bring in here and raise that brand awareness and raise the awareness of just the area as a whole, I think we all win overall.
One thing I'd like to
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
add to this is that we're coming off the heels of the Olympics, right? So beach volleyball is fresh in a lot of people's minds. So you have an opportunity here, a window of time to build this event for 3-4 years for the next set of Olympics, where it could potentially be another big upsell point. So a lot of potential built into this, and the timing's perfect to capture that audience.
Well, I was just gonna say, it looks like to me 125 rooms, 2 nights probably, so that's 250 rooms. That alone, I think is worth, some significant dollars. The fact that Plattsburgh, and nothing against Plattsburgh, 'cause that's where I graduated from, but the fact that Plattsburgh wants to re-up and do another 3-year contract says volumes to me, because they have 1/100th to offer what we have in this area. So if they see it as, or they've already got a track record saying, okay, it is successful, we wanna keep going with this, to me alone, that says from a business standpoint, it makes sense. And then you throw in, obviously, Lake George and the beautiful area you have, I think it's a no-brainer. Proven track record, like Peter said, we're coming off the Olympics, the area, it looks like these guys are organized, they've got their act together, it's not like some fly-by-night company that we gotta roll the dice on. $20,000 is a lot of money, but, in my opinion, the occupancy tax is there to drive heads and beds, and I don't know, and like you said, if we can create, you know, newness also, 'cause let's face it, we gotta get freshness. Lake George has been around, I mean, you know, we've got all these people coming, that's great, and the kids, but you gotta keep things fresh nowadays and new, and this is just to me, this is a grand slam, in my opinion. I may be wrong, but my gut tells me this
I
is
think you're right.
a big home run.
Mike, you got last word or something?
A couple things come to mind. One is, thank you, Peter, who doesn't love beach volleyball? But answer Supervisor Seeker's question, have we done something like this before? Yes, we have. Remember, with the Centurion Cycling, it was a financial obligation by this county. It went over very, very well. It was a very successful cycling event. Fortunately, the planner, the owner of the Centurion Cycling event decided to keep it in Canada, which was great because he's a Canadian citizen. So he's concentrating, and they're still riding, and they do a couple, 3 events a year. So the potential there alone is great. You can see on a local level, we do the volleyball tournament that's kind of grown over the years. So volleyball, like you said, Rachel, there's a lot of interest in here. Was just advised that the state volleyball championships are held at the Civic Center. Again, we have so many ways to not only promote this event, but also promote popularity of volleyball. I think the obligation, Supervisor Strauss, is yes, there's a financial obligation. The rest of it, I think, would be very similar to the Centurion. There's a committee that's formed. We will go out there and we will solicit sponsorships from the local businesses. It will help to incur as much cost involved with this, but as far as the initial monies allocated to them through the county, I think it's safe to say it would be that $20,000.
All right, one more, Ron? Nope.
I just have a question, and maybe Dennis can answer this. Some years back, we had, there was an issue with Million Dollar Beach and the activities they're on, and the state wanting to be, as part of their permit, they had a fairly sizable, as I remember, permit fee, and I just want to be careful since we would be the ones responsible for securing a permit from the state of New York. All of that's been ironed out, that we know the pathway to securing a permit during that time of the year from the state of New York, and there's no significant, let's put it this way, there's no significant costs that are associated to that. I just want to be careful on this point, because I don't know if the state distinguishes between a not-for-profit and a for-profit entity. I don't know. So it seemed to me if we were going to move forward, we should, as you say, you know, be willing maybe to take some baby steps here initially. Obviously, we're going to want, whatever we do needs to be subject to review of contracts by our attorney, and I just want to make sure those things within the host deliverables that we say we're going to be delivered, that we're going to be contractually obligated to deliver, that we have a clear vision on every one of those items. It may be that all of those issues have been resolved. It's just that I would think probably the Lake George people would be better able to explain that.
I did wanna finish with Christine, we got partway down the list, that's part of what I was looking for. If you could go back to that list again? Now, you got down to, permit for the, course. Could you finish highlighting the rest of the list? I have some questions on this one.
Bullet point number 4, the marketing sponsorship options to local businesses. You know, I will clarify with the EVP, like I mentioned before, there's an entire other sheet that we can help. I think that's more where we help distribute these opportunities to the local businesses. So if they would like to participate, there is no obligation on the onus of the businesses, but if they would like to participate as a business in this event as a sponsor, they would have that opportunity to do so.
What would they be looking for? Their name and some of the handouts?
or, branding opportunities, for example, a logo on one of the shirts or jerseys, it depends on the level, truly,
I think one of the things we need to check on is, the banners, I assume, are street banners. If you're gonna have any kind of banner advertisement at the beach, I think you need to check and make sure they only put up whatever it is, like an ad. I think you're gonna find a problem there if Joe Blow's Restaurant wants to put a banner down on the beach. I think that's gonna be an issue, but we need to check with that with the DEC. Courtside banners and signage, that's what.
Right, the banners I think they're mentioning are these small little tent type things that, there was a picture of it earlier, and I can go back in a minute. But they're low banners that are, if you actually look, yes, thank you. You know,
Center around the ice rink.
yeah, right, there's,
Purchased by a local business.
Well, the DEC is anything but cooperative. And they have a lot of rules and a lot of strange interpretations of the rules. It makes me a little nervous here, because it should be ironed out.
I've worked with DEC in the past. I used to work for the state, and I've worked with a number of different agencies over the years and different authorities. And I think if it's presented in a way in which we show the value and the benefit to the community, and perhaps as a way, DEC may even want to be a sponsor potentially of this as well, or the state, or I Love New York. These are opportunities that potentially could be discussed in the future. But certainly we're open to making sure that everything is clear and transparent, and that everybody is on the same page so that this becomes a very successful event for everyone as a whole.
Christine, as you well know, the $1 Million Beach is not in the village, it's in the town. We have permits for amplified sound. How later in the day are they running this thing? Are they gonna?
I think by sunset they're done. So we're not talking into the night.
So you're talking 9 o'clock?
No, we're probably talking like 5 or 6 o'clock, maybe at the most. I don't have the exact schedule in front of me, but certainly, if the parameters state that you can only have amplified sound up to this point, then they work within those parameters. They're very willing to work with the community to make sure that they're respectful of, what is acceptable and what is not in each community. They want a true partnership.
Mr. Stroud, the EPA tour schedule says 1 day, June 24th, and you keep saying 2 days.
It is 2 days. It should be the 23rd, 24th. The deck was sent to me from them at a very early stage of the game, so it is the 23rd and the 24th.
And if it gets rained out?
If it gets rained out, then unless there's thunder or lightning, I think they still play.
They still play?
In the rain, yep. Just like any other sports tournament.
Best time to go watch them.
Yeah.
Visitors won't be there, but maybe the players will.
Well, they don't have many visitors. Look at those pictures.
But the other thing is, I know Americade got very upset with DEC. They wanted to use part of the parking lot or something, and the price for using it was outrageous. And so they said, well, forget it, we'll go someplace else. If the DEC charges an outrageous rate to use the beach, is the county gonna be obligated for that?
That's why I raised the question. I think before any money changes hands, we have to have an absolute clear path with DEC from point A to point B. We have to know that before any money changes hands. I'm less concerned with the local deliverables on the host item as opposed to those entities we have to go to that are outside.
Because it says that one of our deliverables is to get the permit
Well,
from
that's why I asked
DEC.
the question, that's why you're chasing it as well. We have to make absolute certain that we have a path in that regard, not only in terms of the use of the state property and the parking, but also the ability to put up tents, the ability to put up signage, all of the requirements, their requirements on us as the host. We have to make absolutely sure. But that could be part of a follow-up meeting with DEC, and I would assume that would all be vetted and all would be before any money changed hands.
All right. Well, I thank you all for coming, and we need anybody wanna move it? Get it on the floor?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, if I may. Is this something you're looking for a vote for at this board meeting on Friday? That's why we're here today.
Right, I didn't wanna bring it to the board, and, you know,
Oh, I
a lot of
appreciate that,
supervisors
yeah.
don't like to come out of committee, so I figured, look, it's 45 minutes, we
Yep.
would've had to do that and have 20 people there, so it was, you know,
So, with that in mind, is there a way to have like a preliminary, another conversation with DEC before Friday that would kinda just reassure those questions we might have? What, call your local
Yeah.
assemblyman
Oh,
and
yeah.
senator and ask for some help.
All right, so,
Hi.
I think we're
My
voting
world
on.
Rachel, are you putting it on the floor?
Yes, I'm sorry,
Okay,
yes.
do I get a second, Mr. Dickinson? Any other questions?
Now, if I understand the motion
This is just voting on the
we're just
concept?
voting on the concept,
Because
we
we
don't
don't
have
know
the
the
details
details.
yet, so.
Well, we're voting on to move it to Friday, and hopefully we'll get details, I mean,
Yeah, 'cause you gotta clear the deposit by October, right?
they should get that answers by Friday if you can.
And your commitment for.
Because we need the commitment so they can sign the contract before October 1st. If we don't do it this Friday, then the board doesn't meet again until, middle of October.
The only other thing is, do we have a copy of the standard contract so that Brian can take a quick look at it? Can we get a copy of the standard contract, just so Brian has had a chance to take a look at it as well? I didn't make the motion, but I would hope that would be part of the motion.
That was part of my motion.
Okay.
Well, and can we, if there are costs associated with the use of the beach, can we transfer that to EVP?
I think we're gonna have to evaluate it once we, if there is a
I think
cost.
here's the point here, which is, the contract, I think, will be open to negotiation. They really wanna come here, and I think they are willing to work with us, in the subsequent conversations that I've had with them over the last 3 to 4 weeks, last month and a half, they want to come to our area. They believe this could be a very successful event in this area. If there are if there's contractual language in there that needs to be negotiated, we'll bring them to the table and we'll negotiate that out. I have no problem doing that. Certainly, we can, bring the lawyers to the table and do that as well, bring DEC as well. I mean, we can work those things out.
Well, then could you fashion the resolution to say that we're gonna obligate ourselves to the $20,000, anything beyond that, EVP's gonna have to pick up?
Well, it's also, we're only obligating ourselves right now for 10,000 to get the contract going. The other 10 will be in June of next year.
Right. So basically, we're just looking for the seed money.
So, again, well, let me rephrase that to the $10,000, and any additional costs, the EVP will pick up.
Well, that's, I didn't mean.
I don't know how you can.
Mike, did
Time
you,
to negotiate. I don't.
Say in these states
with the MOU, and say we will provide $10,000, by October 1st, provided Kristen and EVP discuss all of these deliverables.
That's good.
And, if they cannot be met, then it's off the table.
Would you understand, you like that, Ron?
Yeah, I mean, I think normally, I understand that we have a very short timeline here. But I think prior to any money changing hands, there's some fundamental issues that need to be dealt with immediately, which shouldn't take a long period of time to deal with. And I think that they must have a standard contract that they could email or fax to our attorney today. Even if it has another community's name on it, that's okay. They must have standard language, get it in the hands of our attorney. And, just so we could look at a few of these things, not vet all the details, but some of the fundamental major details before any money changes hands. That's all I'm saying. It looks like a wonderful proposal. I'm prepared to vote to support it, but I think we need to be prudent here as well. I think it's
Our role is twofold here. Our role is to go out and find events such as this and bring them to our community. Our role, obviously, is to do due diligence to make sure that per Mr. Conover, we look at the contract, we abide by what states, and if we can deliver all these, and then we come back. I certainly know that the timeframe would at least say, yes, we are very much interested and we will provide you with such a deposit if we satisfy all these needs.
a letter of intent. A letter of intent, and then we follow on. My biggest concern has to do with making sure we can lock down the venue from the state at that point in time and do the things that we're obligated to do under the post deliverables. The contract, I assume they could send that tomorrow. I mean, that's, I don't know why they have a hesitation on that. They have to have it on the computer to shoot it out. We understand it, things are negotiated. And we get a chance to see the language of the contract, we begin to become familiar with it. We can at least do a little initial triage on it, our attorneys can. But I'm most concerned with the venue, making sure that that venue is gonna be there on that date, that we're gonna be able to deliver it on that date, that I assume there's little or no cost associated with that the sponsors and everyone's gonna be able to do what they do at those events on that date. Because we're guaranteeing that as a host, we're delivering it. I just wanna make absolutely sure Dennis Dickinson, Supervisor Dickinson's, right on the money on that.
We have 16 days until the end of the month. I realize we have a meeting on Friday, but I think we can at least get this moving in the right direction with some assurances, and then give them a couple of weeks to straighten all these things out before we actually make the.
If we pass it Friday, then we still have another 10 days to,
Yeah, you have almost 2 weeks.
No, yeah.
Right.
all right, anything else? So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
What
Passed.
actually
Thank you.
did we vote on? Could we read that back to me? What did we actually vote on?
I have the motion to approve the contract with EVP for a volleyball tournament, excuse me, for years 2017, 18, and 19, contingent upon review and approval of contract by the county attorney.
Okay. I have one more question for you, Christine. Who did you deal with at the DEC?
I had preliminary conversations with, I believe it was Fred? Whoever's we had very preliminary conversations with the gentleman who's actually stationed down in the office down there.
Fred.
Fred.
Dark hair, not too tall, thin?
Yes, I have Fred.
Yep. Okay.
Like I said, very, very preliminary. It was back in
Okay.
June, and it was just when the discussions were beginning.
I
Therefore,
would
they have not.
suggest we try to move up the ladder a little,
Who
set
would
up.
you recommend that we speak with?
Well,
I can help you. I can
There you
help
go.
you move up the ladder.
Okay, thank you.
I know the
All right, and
regional
just
director
before everybody
very
leaves,
well.
it's the Octax contingency fund, discretionary fund.
Discretionary.
I wanna make sure we get the wording
10,000.
right. Okay.
And what's the balance in that, Chief?
55,000.
So you'll move money into it next year, or like, how will you?
Well, then we'll go through next year, take it out of the Octax money. We don't need to, right now, just all we need is 10 right now.
Take it out of the Luzerne budget.
All right, thank you all.
Thank you,
Motion
Gene.
to
Good
adjourn.
job.
Did we adjourn already?
Mary, how are you?
Good, how are you?